so good to us. We deserve our very best. I pray now that the words of my mouth and meditation of my heart will be found acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. I pray that you help us to leave this place a little better than we came. Lord, be careful to give you all the thanks and all the praise. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. We are certainly blessed. We have been blessed by the choir this morning. And beautiful song selection. I was glad when I looked up and I saw Brother Dennis, I saw Brother Butch, all those who have been out working on these Sunday mornings. And we're grateful that the Lord has allowed you to get back into his house. I have a very familiar passage for you this morning. You should probably know it by heart, but it's found in Psalm 23, verse number 5. Psalm number 23, and our focus will be on verse number 5. So once you have it, if you're able to stand in honor of God's word, let us stand.
My God, my God. Oh, hallelujah. Thank you, God.
This is a psalm of David. And in this psalm, in verse number 5, we're going to focus. David simply says,
Thank you, God.
prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. You may take your seats.
Thank you, God. Oh, thank you, God.
So bear with me. I just want to talk about just a very few minutes. I believe I'll be long today, but I want to talk about write a title, y'all, to be honest with you. Let's talk about the Lord. Is that all right? We'll talk about the Lord because he is working in church. We're going to talk about the Lord. Psalm 23.
Yes, God.
Psalm 23. In this psalm, the writer of the psalm was David. As he writes Psalm 23, I guess to make it a basic sense, I guess, David is talking about what it means to have the Lord as the shepherd of your life. In Psalm 23, throughout this psalm, David points out a few things. One of the things that David points out is, and he makes it plain, is that God is the source of our supply.
Yes,
He is the source of it. That God doesn't just simply give us things, but he is the source of all of our supply. Everything about you, of your health, of your strength, of your finances, the roof over your head, the clothes on your back, the food on your table. He is the source of it. He is where it comes from. If you read it carefully, Psalm 23, you'll also discover that the Lord is, and David says that the Lord is not only the source of your supply, but the Lord is also the source of your sanity.
All right.
He says, he makes me to lie down in green pastures, and he leads me beside the still waters.
All right.
In other words, our lives have the potential to drive you plumb crazy if you're not careful. That life, in and of itself, just everyday life, has put a lot of people in a cycle ward. Some of the things that you have experienced in your life, other people would never be able to experience in the way that you have, but the Lord has been the source of your sanity through it all. But because the Lord has led me beside still waters, and because the Lord has made me to lie down in green pastures, he then has enabled me to maintain my sanity in the midst of everything that I've seen in this life. psalmist says that the Lord is the source of my supply. He says that the Lord is the source of my sanity, but he's also the source of my second chance. Anybody messed up somewhere in your life besides me, and God gave you another chance to get it right? Verse says he restores my soul. In other words, the Lord has a way of bringing me back to me. He has a way of bringing me back to the place that I have strayed away from, bringing me back to myself. And the reason David says that the Lord will bring you back to your place where he would have you, he does it for his own name's sake. He also says the Lord is not only the source of my supply, not only the source of my sanity, not only the source of my second chance, but he also says that the Lord is the source of my security. Because when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I don't have to fear any evil. Why? Because the Lord is with me, and because the Lord is and has been my security. Another reason the Lord is yours and my security is not only because he's with us, because he stands with us in those moments in our life, but he's also the source of your security. He's also the source of my security. Can I tell you why? Because he's packing. I said the Lord is packing. He says his rod and his staff, they comfort me. His rod is where he checks for enemies, and he checks to make sure everything is all right. And his staff is to check for predators in case he has to go upside somebody's head when he's messing with his child. He is.
Amen.
He is the source of my security. Now that was my opening. I said all of that to get to verse number 5, because that's where David is headed in this passage. Because during that time, every now and then, the shepherd had to lead his sheep through difficult places in their life. And the shepherd doesn't lead the sheep through these places just to make life hard on them, that they have to deal with these difficult places, or because he's mean, he doesn't lead us to difficult places because he's a mean shepherd. No, the shepherd was always trying to get the sheep to higher places. And we go through many of the things that we go through in life because God is pulling us to a higher place in him. And the shepherd couldn't get the sheep to higher places until they went through certain difficult spots in life. That you would not be elevated to the place where you are had it not been for the difficult moments in life. But along their way to these higher places, the shepherd would have to stop on the mountains sometimes. And he stopped on the mountains as they would travel up the mountains, and he would lead the sheep up the mountains. He would then often stop on these places that are called tablelands. And in these places called tablelands, these difficult spots, tablelands were flat spots. That as they would travel up the mountain, and the Lord would lead them through the difficult spots up the mountain, every now and then on their way up the mountain, they would hit a flat spot going up the mountain. And that flat spot was green. It had green grass and luscious foliage, and it was a flat spot. And he would lead those sheep to that place because that was a resting place where the sheep could eat and they could take a break from the journey up the rough mountain that they were traveling. And that's what David says that's what he means when he says, "Thou preparest a table before me." I need to say that whatever else verse number 5 says, it is a reminder that you and I, as sheep of the Lord, that we have enemies in this life. It says that thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Y'all, it's very clear that sheep have enemies. And you and I have enemies, not because we've done anything wrong. It's It's not because you've offended anybody. No, we have enemies simply because we're sheep. Lions don't like sheep. Wolves don't like sheep. In fact, if you get along too well with a wolf, you might want to question whether or not you're a sheep. So just because of the identity of the sheep and how you identify with the shepherd automatically means that you and I are going to have enemies in this world. And David, as he's writing this psalm, he is not hallucinating here about what you and I will go through. He is not daydreaming. This is not something that he's just coming up with out of nowhere, because David knew firsthand that you can have enemies in life for no reason at all. For no reason. The Philistines didn't like it just because he was of the lineage of Israel. And because of that, David had to fight this great giant Goliath. So he knew that you can have enemies for no reason at all. You will have enemies just because of who you are. In fact, Jesus says, if the world hates me, then the world is going to hate you. And it's not because you've done anything wrong. It's simply because you're in the world, but you are not of the world. So David says, don't think it's strange. Don't think it's out of the ordinary. Don't think that something is wrong with you because you have trouble in this life. Y'all, we are not supposed to fit in too good with the world. This place, this world is not our home. We are simply pilgrims passing through. And as pilgrims passing through, everybody is not going to like you. Everybody is not going to get along with you. We are here not to be like the world. We are here to be the light of the world and the salt of the earth. Because of that, we're going to have enemies simply because we belong to the Lord. And people are not going to like you simply because you belong to Him. And so David says, we will have enemies. But one thing that we have to remember is that enemies won't get in the way of God's blessing that He has for you. That enemies, because you have enemies, and you will have enemies, they will not get in the way of the blessing that the shepherd has for you. Here's what I want y'all to see. Once the shepherd would get the sheep to these places called the tablelands, these resting places where they were lush and green. Once the shepherd got them to a place of refreshing and relaxation, the sheep's enemies could still see the sheep when they were being blessed by the shepherd. That your enemies are at a vantage point where they cannot get to you, but they can still see you getting blessed. These wolves or these lions or whatever the enemy was could watch the sheep. They could sit there and look at the sheep, but they could not touch the sheep. Now there's two reasons that the enemies could not touch the sheep. Number one, because of the elevation that the shepherd had the sheep. That some predators are not going to be able to get at you because of the high place that God has you at. And y'all, I want to say that is why, as a child of God, to bear the name of a Christian, that is why we ought to try to live and always live in higher places. High places of love. High places of joy. High places of forgiveness. High places of peace. Why? Because a lot of your enemies cannot understand you when you live like that. When you have joy in the midst of sorrow, enemies don't understand that. When you give forgiveness in a place where the world would not be able to forgive, enemies cannot reach you in places like that. They have to scratch their head when you have joy in the midst of sorrow. They can't get to you. And even when we're going through a storm, they have to scratch their head because they cannot understand you are in a higher place in God and the predators cannot get to you. Many years ago, of stuff. He knew how to catch fish and clean them and cook them, and he would do all of that. So he would take us out and we would go out fishing. He knew all that fisherman type of thing. But whenever he would take me fishing, sometimes I would catch something called a carp fish. A carp fish. And whenever I would catch a carp fish, my brother-in-law would tell me, he would say, Corey, now throw that fish back, because that's a carp fish. And the problem with a carp fish is a carp fish is a bottom feeder. And that's not the kind of fish that you want around you. The carp fish will eat anything. It'll do anything. It'll be around any. It's a dirty fish. It's an unclean fish. He said, Corey, take the carp fish and get rid of it, because that's not the kind of fish that you want around. And here's the thing, y'all, bottom feeders would eat anything that's on the bottom. And my point is this: you have to be careful, brothers and sisters, of hanging out with people who are bottom feeders. Y'all, bottom feeders are the kind of people who are always looking for mess. Bottom feeders are the kind of people who are they always want to gossip. Bottom feeders always have a problem with stuff. They're always pointing fingers about something else. It's never them. It's never them. They're always on the bottom. And let me just throw this in. The bottom feeders are always coming to you with mess. You might just be part of the bottom feeders that you hang around. Sometimes you got to say, like the songwriter, Lord, lift me up. Lift me up from the mess. Lift me up from where the bottom feeders are. Lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven. That's where the Lord was taking them, to a table land. No higher plane that I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. Is there anybody here besides me who wants to be in a higher place than what the bottom feeders are? I don't have time for all that gossip. I don't have time for all that mess. I'm trying to get to a place where the Lord is bringing me up to a table land. Wait. The other reason that the enemies couldn't get to the sheep was because of the presence of the shepherd in their life. That some enemies won't be able to get to you because of the presence of the shepherd in your life. That wolf, that cougar, that lion would say, man, I wish I could get over there to harm that sheep. But somebody is protecting that sheep. That there's something about that sheep that I can only get so close to that sheep because there's somebody protecting that sheep. Sometimes, y'all, the sheep didn't even know the danger that it was really in. Because the Lord had made it such a place, that table land was such a place that they were relaxed and they were at a place where they could eat and they could dine, and they didn't even realize how much danger they were really in their life. They didn't know. But the shepherd knew what was all around them, and that was all that mattered, was that the shepherd knew what was around them. Because the truth is, if the sheep knew what was around them, all the enemies that were around them, and all the danger that they would be in, they wouldn't be able to relax and eat. But the shepherd makes it so that they didn't even know about it. And because of that, the shepherd doesn't always inform us of what's coming up ahead. The shepherd doesn't always let us know what's coming on tomorrow. He doesn't always let us know what the next day will bring. He doesn't let us know what the enemies have or trying to do to us. Brothers and sisters, I believe God doesn't even let us know all of the stuff that could have happened to us in life. Did you know that there were a whole lot of things that could have happened to you in life? God, forgive me for all the times that I didn't just simply thank you for what could have happened, but you didn't allow it to happen. The Lord knows that you wouldn't be able to rest if you really knew all the stuff that came against you. And I just thank God for hiding some stuff from me, from protecting me from some things that I couldn't see. David says, he prepares a table where in the presence of my enemies. David, y'all actually knew this by first-hand experience, because when David was on the run from Saul, there would actually be certain priests. When David was out in the wilderness, there were actually certain priests who would be strategically set in the wilderness, and they were taking care of David right underneath the nose of Saul. These priests would send David food. They would send David water. They would send David clothes so that he could make it out there in the wilderness. And those priests would do it right under the nose of Saul. And David says, just like that, the Lord prepares a table before me. That he prepares a table, y'all, before me to make life a little better, a little easier for me to get through the rough spots of life. Watch what David says. He says, the Lord prepares a table before me. Not a quick little snack before me. He prepares a table before me. Not a Popeye's chicken sandwich that I'm going to have to fight to get the sandwich. No. Not Happy Meal number 2 that I have to get through the drive-thru and rush and eat. No. David says that's not how my shepherd has led me. That my shepherd prepares, oh hallelujah, a table before me.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and
sir.
he does it in the presence of my enemies. Whenever the Bible talks about a table, a Hebrew table, that Hebrew table was always a smorgasbord. It was a banquet that the Lord would prepare for the people. And y'all know that anything that God prepares is going to be of a certain quality. That it's going to be prepared properly. And David says that the Lord prepares this table, and he does it in the presence of my enemies. That he does it in the presence of some people who secretly plot and plan and don't want you to have what the Lord has prepared for you. It's interesting. During World War II, and I was reading this week, it says that during World War II, this verse, Psalm 23, verse 5, was a favorite verse of those Christians who lived in London during that time of World War II. Because although bombs were going off all around them during World War II in London, the people would pull out Psalm 23, verse number 5 during the bombings, particularly when they were in houses of worship taking the Eucharist, what we would call the Lord's Supper. And so while they were in there partaking of the Lord's Supper, they would quote and read Psalm 23, 23 verse 5, while bombs were going off all around them. While they were in the house of God, it says that they would read that verse as if to say that no matter what bombs are going off around me, no matter what mess is going on around me, I'm still at the church. I'm still giving God a glory.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I'm still trusting in God. I'm still going to do the Lord's work no matter what's going on around me. Why? Because the Lord has prepared a table.
Amen.
I don't do it for somebody else. I do it for him because the Lord has prepared a table. That's why I stand and look over again. The Lord has prepared this table. That's why I give God the praise.
Thank you, God.
Because the Lord prepared that table. Some of you all have had the enemy of financial disaster or financial hard times, but even with all of that, you will still have a roof over your head and clothes on your back because the Lord prepared that table. I believe that some of the reason why we don't praise God the way we ought to is because we forgot about it. We forgot what the Lord has, how good God has been to us. You lost a job, but the Lord made it so that you lost the job, but you didn't lose your mind.
Amen. Amen.
A table. You get lonesome sometimes, but He didn't take all your friends away because the Lord prepared that table. He prepares a table before me. It is the Lord who makes it all right. It is the Lord who has prepared that table. All I'm trying to tell you is that the presence of your enemies does not stop what God wants to do in your life. I'm done. He says, Lord prepares. This is because He is my shepherd. The Lord prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. The Lord has made a way for me in the presence of my enemies. The Lord has made a way despite what I have been going through. He continues to make a way every time I turn around. Every time I turn around. Every time I turn enemies to stick close to us as we travel this road called life. Well, certain enemies, whether that be a person, whether that be a sickness, whether that be a problem that we might have, why does God allow enemies to stick close to us in this life? I mean, it seems like the Lord should just take the enemies off the scene and prepare the table for me. Well, I think sometimes the Lord wants to do things in front of a certain audience. I believe He does it on purpose, that He wants to set the table before us so that certain people can see what the Lord has done. If you remember when Joseph finally got promoted, God did it in front of his brothers, the same ones who threw Joseph in the pit. And God did the blessing. He promoted Joseph in front of his brothers in order to show them that what they meant for evil, God could turn that thing around for their good.
Yes.
When God destroyed Pharaoh and the Egyptian army, it seems like God could have just destroyed the Egyptian army long before they got to the Red Sea. But instead, what God did was He let Israel, the children of Israel, were able to pull out a lounge chair. They walked through dry shod and they were able to pull out a lounge chair, pop a little bit of popcorn, and sit down and watch what God was going to do to their He's getting us ready to dine at the table, which is an act of continued hospitality towards his children. And he does it in front of our enemies so that they can see what the Lord has prepared. He says that the Lord, I'm done, prepares a table before me. You think about your own life. I believe I should have gave y'all some signs to say hallelujah, but when you think about your own life, and you think about what God has done for you in your life, and you think about the places that God has brought you through, when you think about the divorce that you could have had, but he got you through those workplaces, when you think about how sickness was in your body, but God allowed your golden moments to roll on a little while longer. When I think about how I could have died in an accident, but he prepared a table before me in the presence of my enemies. David said, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Why do I serve God the way that I serve? Why do I serve Him the way that I serve? It's not because of you. I do it because the Lord has prepared a table, and He keeps on preparing it. Every time I turn around, He does it over and over and over again. I don't know how some of y'all do it sometimes. You sit still the way you do it. Look at folks with a blank stare with all that the Lord has done for you, and I know what He's done for some of y'all. You sit there just looking blank, like God hasn't been good. No. My Bible says, make a joyful noise to the Lord. My Bible says, come before Him with singing. And extend invitations. Perhaps there's someone who has gotten outside of the army of Satan. You've gotten away from the walk with the Lord, and you want to get back. You want to get back in a relationship with the Lord. We want to extend the invitation to you right now. The Lord, y'all, He prepares. If He prepares something, that means He has to go before you. I don't know who I'm talking to right now, but you're worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. You're worried about how this is going to work out. David said, when the Lord is your shepherd, you're worrying too much. You're doing too much. You getting gray and mean looking and biting your nails, and you smoking all them cigarettes, doing all that stuff. You're worrying too much. Because David says that He goes before us. And He has gone before us to prepare that table, a place, a lush place, where we can dine and look. And all people will be able to do is look and see what the Lord and King knew nothing about. We extend an invitation to you. Perhaps there's one who want to give your life to Christ today. The door's open. Door's open.
Lord is my shepherd.